At the beginning of the story, it shows a man named Tasik who was shopping at the market. When Tasik was going home, he accidentally saw a flower that immediately reminded him of Tasik's late wife who had died. After that, Tasik returned to his rent house, which was not far from the market. Arriving at the rent house, Tasik was apparently awaited by a girl named Somei. It is known that Somei is Tasik's neighbor. Somei was seen whining to Tasik because Somei wanted to pawn her MP3 player to Tasik. It was told that all this time Tasik opened a small business, mainly pawnshop goods. Tasik, who couldn't bear to see Somei keep whining, finally accepted the MP3 player and gave Somei some money. Not only that, Tasik also invited Somei to have lunch together. That's because Tasik just happened to be shopping at the market. When they ate together, Somei asked if Tasik was a gangster. Tasik replies that he's not. Not long after, Somei's mother, Hyojan, came to look for Somei. Seeing Somei, who immediately hid under the table, then advised Tasik not to tell the mother about her whereabouts. In the end, Tasik told Somei's mother that Somei wasn't here. After the mother returned to her rent house, Somei said that she didn't feel at home living with the mother who always used illegal stuff with her boyfriend every day. Apparently, Somei's mother is a heavy addict who only cares about illegal stuff and her boyfriend rather than Somei. Then, Somei asked permission to wait at Tasik's rent house until her mother's boyfriend leave. Tasik, who felt sorry for Somei, he also allowed Somei to be at his residence. Tasik even asked Somei to stay at his rent. In the morning, when Tasik woke up, he saw Somei, who had gone home, and only left a letter for Tasik. When read, the letter contained a thank you from Somei, and when Tasik turned his hand over, that Somei had painted Tasik's nails with a smiley emote. Seeing that Tasik feels happy, because it has been several years since Tasik has never felt happiness since his wife died. Later that night, Somei's mother is seen dancing at a bar. But when she finished dancing, Somei's mother stole a bag containing illegal stuff belonging to the biggest dealer in the city. Then when she returned her rent, Somei's mother immediately used some of the illegal stuff with her boyfriend. After feeling satisfied, Somei's mother pawned the bag she had stolen to Tasik, and coincidentally, in the bag, there was also a camera that cost quite a bit. The scene returns to the dealer who owns the bag, who turns out to be Man-seok. This time Man-seok goes to his boss, Myung-gyu, to tell him that a bag of illegal stuff has been stolen by a dancer at his bar. Knowing this, Myung-gyu immediately slaps Man-seok's head repeatedly. Myung-gyu says that the bag contains a new variant of drugs that is very expensive. If the bag is not found, Myung-gyu will not hesitate to kill Man-seok. After Myung-gyu leaves, seeing Man-seok, who doesn't accept being treated like that by Myung-gyu. It's known that Myung-gyu is Man-seok's boss in the illegal stuff business. Meanwhile, Man-seok himself apparently has another business that is selling human organs to be sold illegally to doctors in need. Shortly thereafter, Man-seok contacted his younger brother Jong-seok. Here, Man-seok asks Jong-seok to immediately arrest the bar dancer, or Somei's mother, because she is the one who has stolen the illegal stuff bag. Hearing this, Jong-seok and his men immediately went to arrest Somei's mother at her rent. The scene moves to Tasik, who is currently on a bus to make a pilgrimage to his wife's grave. Arriving there, Tasik is seen daydreaming while staring at his late wife's grave. Here, we have not been told who Tasik really is and why his wife died. While on his way home, Tasik accidentally meets Somei, who is currently being accused of stealing by her friends. But when Somei asks Tasik for help, Tasik keeps walking as if he doesn't know Somei. That's because Tasik himself is sad because he remembers his late wife. Later that night, Tasik meets Somei again at a supermarket. Seeing Somei, who is very angry because Tasik didn't want to care about her that afternoon. Then Somei leaves Tasik. When Somei was walking alone, it turned out that Tasik followed Somei to apologize. Then, Tasik also gave back Somei's MP3 player as an apology from him. Here, Somei asks why Tasik didn't want to help this afternoon. Is Tasik embarrassed if everyone knows that Tasik knows Somei? then seen So-mi crying as she says that her mother often told her to just die because she's useless. Currently, So-mi is very disappointed with Ta-sik. But if So-mi hates Ta-sik, then there won't be anyone in this world who wants to be So-mi's friend. Hearing all that, Ta-sik was silent because he felt very guilty for what he had done earlier this afternoon. When So-mi returned to her rent, So-mi had to see her mother who was being tortured by Jong-sik and his men. So-mi could only cry when she saw the cruel incident. Later, So-mi's mother said that she had used some of that illegal stuff, while the rest of it that was in the bag, he pawned it to Ta-sik, who rented on the edge of his rent. Hearing this, Jong-sik immediately asks two of his men to look for the bag at Ta-sik's rent, while Jong-sik himself will take So-mi and her mother to the car. The scene moves to Ta-sik, who has just arrived at his rent. Ta-sik is surprised by Jong-sik's two men, who were already in the rent. At first, they pretended to bully Ta-sik. However, this is what Ta-sik did, that is beating him until he hit the glass in his place and fainted. After one person is down, the other immediately contacts Jong-sik, who is already in the parking lot below. Quickly, Jong-sik asks his bodyguard named Ramroan to help him upstairs. Arriving at the top, Ramroan immediately gives his cell phone, because Jong-sik wants to talk to Ta-sik. Here, Jong-sik says that he only wants a bag that So-mi's mother pawned to Ta-sik yesterday. If Ta-sik doesn't give it, then Jong-sik won't hesitate to kill So-mi and her mother, who he has now kidnapped. Knowing this, Ta-sik immediately gives the bag to Ramroan, who turns out that inside the bag there are still some new illegal stuff variants. After getting the bag, Ramroan gives his cell phone to Ta-sik, and then he goes to the lower parking lot. However, Ta-sik ignores the cell phone and chooses to go down to immediately save So-mi and her mother. Unfortunately, it's too late because Jong-sik and Ramroan have already escaped. On the way, it turns out that Jong-sik is currently planning to sell So-mi and her mother as a form of compensation for some of the illegal stuff that So-mi's mother has used. Meanwhile, Ta-sik returns to the rent and immediately contacts Jong-sik using the cell phone that was left by Ramroan. Here, Ta-sik says that he is ready to do anything, as long as So-mi and her mother are not harmed. Hearing this, Jong-sik promises to return So-mi and her mother as long as Ta-sik really wants to obey all orders from Jong-sik from now on. The next day, Jong-sik and Man-sik ordered Ta-sik to take the car that Jong-sik had left in the parking lot near Ta-sik's rent. It turns out that at this time, Jong-sik and Man-sik intend to trap Myung-ju, Man-sik's boss, by sending a package of illegal stuff through Ta-sik, who is the courier. Arriving at Myung-ju's place, we see a confused Myung-ju, as he didn't order any illegal stuff and doesn't know Ta-sik either. Here, Ta-sik says that he's just following orders from a man named Jong-sik, who is currently kidnapping So-mi and her mother. Shortly afterward, Man-sik calls Myung-ju, saying that he's called the police and will soon raid Myung-ju. Man-sik does all of this because he has a grudge against Myung-ju for how he treated him yesterday. Realizing Man-sik is setting him up, Myung-ju runs away and orders his men to throw Ta-sik under the building. There are tons of police officers arriving who immediately attack all of Myung-ju's men. Meanwhile, Ta-sik still managed to survive. Then he immediately chased Myung-ju using the sit-in car earlier. In the middle of the chase, Myung-ju could hit the back of Ta-sik's car, causing the trunk to open. When Ta-sik gets out to fix the trunk, he's shocked to find dead So-mi's mother's body in the trunk. Ta-sik is also seen being surrounded by the police, and they think that Ta-sik is the real courier and the one who killed So-mi's mother. Meanwhile, Myung-ju himself has to escape. A few hours later, Ta-sik is brought to the police station for interrogation. Ta-sik is seen who is only silent and does not want to say a word. On the other hand, it shows the chief of police named Kim Chae-gon, who came to Ta-sik's rented house to find information related to Ta-sik's relationship with Myung-ju and who Ta-sik really is. Back to Ta-sik, who is currently still being interrogated. Because he keeps thinking about So-mi's safety, Ta-sik suddenly goes berserk and he easily beats up all the policemen who are there. After Ta-sik leaves, Chief Kim, who has returned to the office, immediately sees the footage of Tasik during his rampage through CCTV footage. When investigated in detail, Kim and his men finally found information that Tasik was a former Special Forces major. When he was only 27 years old, Tasik had already slaughtered 300 people who were enemies of the military at that time. Tasik is also known as a merciless killer. While given a mission, Tasik never failed, even though the mission was fairly impossible. Knowing this fact, Kim realized that Tasik must actually be not a suspect. As for Myung-gyu, Kim already knows that Myung-gyu was only framed by Man-seok. Then, Kim holds a meeting with the police officials, because now they will hunt down Man-seok and also Jong-seok. The scene switches to Ram-rowan, Jong-seok's bodyguard, who has now caught Myung-gyu. Then, without hesitation, Ram-rowan immediately finishes Myung-gyu. The other side shows So-mai, who is now locked up somewhere. It was also seen that there were already many children who would become victims of Man-seok and Jong-seok's cruelty. The scene moves to Tasik, who is currently visiting the cell phone shop to find the origin of the cell phone given by Ram-rowan, Jong-seok's bodyguard. When inside, Tasik immediately asked who the person was who bought this cell phone. But the shopkeeper's men instead pointed a knife, so that what Tasik did by breaking his hand and throwing a knife at the shopkeeper deliberately missed. After eliminating the shopkeeper's men, Tasik is finally told that the one who bought this cell phone is Jong-seok's men named Kim Do-chai. Without waiting long, Tasik went to Do-chi at a bar, guided by one of the shopkeeper's remaining men. Arriving there, Tasik immediately met Do-chai, who was in the toilet. Here Tasik asks about So-mai's location while torturing Do-chi. Unable to withstand Tasik's torture, Do-chi finally says that So-mai is in their warehouse. At the same time, Ram-rowan, Jong-seok's bodyguard, suddenly arrived and a fight broke out between them. The fight lasts long enough to get into the middle of a crowd of people who were dancing. But when the two of them want to continue their fight, Man-seok comes and immediately throws a cell phone to Tasik. Before leaving, Man-seok gestures for Tasik to contact him through the cell phone. Then Man-seok went outside with Ram-rowan. In the parking lot, Man-seok, Jong-seok, and Ram-rowan are seen escaping by car. However, recklessly, Tasik immediately ran after him. Here, Tasik is seen exhausted, so he steals one of the residents' cars, and then continues to chase Man-seok. In the middle of the chase, Tasik is seen whose stomach is badly injured due to being shot by Ram-rowan earlier. After that, Man-seok suddenly calls Tasik and says that So-mai's eyes are very beautiful and will definitely sell for a lot of money. Hearing this, Tasik says that before Man-seok does that, he will first finish Man-seok and all his men. Then, Tasik chooses to go to his old friend first to treat his wounds that are getting worse. Seeing that Tasik's wound is very severe, the friend immediately treats it quickly. Here, Tasik was unconscious and remembered about the past when his wife was killed. One day, Tasik takes his wife to check her pregnancy. It looks like Tasik is very happy, because soon he will have a child. When they were going home, Tasik got a call while his wife was waiting in the car. However, suddenly Tasik's car was hit by a truck. As a result of the accident, Tasik's wife and her future baby had to die on the spot. While Tasik, suddenly someone shot him, putting him in a coma for some time. Since the incident, Tasik no longer had a passion for life and decided to leave the military. Then, Tasik moved to another city, then decided to rent and opened a business, mainly a small pawn shop business. This is where Tasik became neighbors with So-mai. Until now, Tasik is very close to So-mai. The scene returns to the present, where Tasik has just regained consciousness. Here, Tasik immediately thanks his best friend, and then he will return to hunt down Man-seok and Jong-seok to save So-mai. But before leaving, Tasik chooses to shave his long hair to look very different. Not long after, Tasik is suddenly contacted by Kim, the chief of police. Kim, who realizes that Tasik is not an enemy and innocent, tells him the location of Man-seok and Jong-seok's place. Man-seok's place is located in the church near the cemetery, while Jong-seok is in the old building. Kim also tells Tasik that the police will not arrest Tasik because they already know the true events. Hearing all that, Tasik immediately prepares to save Somei and hunt down Mansiak and Jongseok. On the other hand, Somei is still locked up with the other boys. They are now guarded by Ramroan, because soon they will be sold. Then Ramroan, whose head was injured, was suddenly given a towel by Somei. This made Ramroan silent, because even to the person who had kidnapped him, Somei was still kind. At night, it shows Tasik, who is already in the old building, which is Jongseok's headquarters. When he goes inside, Tasik sees Jongseok, who is employing the boys to wrap illegal stuff. Here, Tasik hasn't done anything yet, but wants to look around the building first. In another room, Tasik sees a boy who is about to be drugged by one of Jongseok's men. But swiftly, Tasik immediately shot the person. Hearing the gunshot, Jongseok and one of his other men immediately went to the room. But quickly, Tasik could finish off one of Jongseok's men and also shot Jongseok in the leg. Then, Tasik tortured Jongseok very brutally. After that, Tasik contacts Mansiak and asks him to deliver Somei to this place if Jongseok doesn't want to die. Hearing all that, Mansiak challenges Tasik back because he doesn't want to give Somei to Tasik. Then, Tasik orders all the kids there to come out and Tasik blows up using gas and lanterns. After blowing up the building with Jongseok inside, Tasik calls Kim and asks him to come immediately to save the boys who are here. Elsewhere, Somei is seen being surged on by a doctor. Ramroan is also seen there, because he happens to be assigned to look after Somei. Sometime later, seen Tasik, who is currently visiting Mansiak's place in a church near the cemetery. There are a lot of Mansiak's men waiting for Tasik's arrival, including Ramroan. Seeing Tasik coming, Mansiak immediately gives Somei the eye they just surge on, and it turns out that Somei is now dead. Knowing this fact, Tasik wraps the eye in his jacket, and then Tasik goes on a rampage. Tasik tried to finish off all of Mansiak's men. Unfortunately, Mansiak could escape. After that, with a heavy heart, Tasik walked to take Somei's eye. However, suddenly Somei's eye container broke. Seeing it all broken because by Ramroan's shot, Tasik immediately went berserk, and a duel between them was inevitable. After finishing off Ramroan, Tasik chases Mansiak, who escapes by car. With a bullseye, Tasik could shoot Mansiak's car tires, making his car unable to move. Then, Tasik approaches Mansiak and shoots him dead. After everything ended, Tasik reflected and thought about why the people Tasik loved all had to die. Tasik used to love his wife very much, but unfortunately, she had to die with her future baby. Now Tasik has just loved Somei like his own daughter, and Somei must also die. Then, Tasik intends to end his own life, because he thinks that it's all because of his sins in the past that always killed people without mercy. However, Somei suddenly appeared and immediately hugged Tasik. It turns out that when Somei wanted to be operated on, Ramroan saved Somei and killed the doctor who was going to search in Somei. Ramroan did this because he felt touched when Somei doing good to him like gave him a plaster. A few days later, we see Tasik with Somei, who is now gathering everyone in front of regular supermarket. Kim and his men are also there. Then, Tasik says that Somei once said if Tasik was embarrassed when anyone knew Tasik knew Somei. Now, Tasik says in front of everyone that Tasik will adopt Somei as his daughter. Hearing all that, Somei is very happy, and it looks like Tasik is also able to smile after several years of frowning. With Tasik and Somei together as a family, the movie ended.